Liz, it's such a tonic talking to you. It's so lovely because you just make things happen, and because your perspective on life is just so spot on and so real and so clever as well. So thank you for just being here and brightening my morning.
That is my pleasure, and likewise.
So, Liz, we said we'd do a chat because SAS Who Dares Wins is back on telly.
Back on telly, best thing on telly. Yeah,
it really is. Oh my God, I found it emotional. So I've done catch up because we've had session 1 or episode 1 and episode 2. And we're going to have a chat about those 2 episodes in terms of coaching, in terms of aspirational stuff, in terms of getting hold of your mind, all your brilliance and all your understanding. And then we're going to pick it up after every episode. So from next week, we'll talk about each individual episode. We want to talk about the brilliance that is Who Dares Wins, SAS Who Dares Wins. You are an important and integral part of that team because of your background.
So they've got it. I think it takes 300 minutes of recorded material to make 1 minute of programme. And at any one time, there's 4 cameras going. So the fly on the wall stop, there's 4 cameras on. So the editors have a big old task sort of trawling through stuff to get the little micro expressions that they do. But the micro expressions may not actually fall exactly where you're made to believe that they fall, but it will give you a picture of what that person's thought process and reactions are normally. I believe. I mean, I'm not an editor and I don't know, but I was there for, you know, some of it. Not this particular series actually, but you know, every other series that's been on, I've been there, and I know that what I see on the telly is a really good reflection, but it didn't always happen in precisely that order. Yeah.
I have to say I was truly shocked that Anthea Turner handed in did a voluntary withdrawal.
Do you know what? I thought to her, of her, if Ant had stopped that pause 10 seconds earlier, she'd have still remained in. But he kept that pause going, hanging, it would appear from what was shown on the telly, for quite some time. And she was cogitating, and he gave her enough time to think it through and think, no, actually, cardiovascularly, I am struggling here. I'm not anywhere near a patch on what the others can achieve. What am I doing here? And it just went through her mind at the time, I think. And maybe, actually, I was thinking, oh, Anthea, you've done really well. What a shame. And then I thought, actually, maybe she made exactly the right. She doesn't need to be proving herself that she's fit enough or strong enough to go in the SAS. What the chuffing else is she doing there? But the very fact that she had achieved what she'd already achieved was enough for her.
Yeah.
And Ant had framed it in that way, hadn't he? He'd said, you can go now with your head held high. And for her, I think that was enough. Not in the first instance, she'd have stood there for 10 seconds, but because it was 30, she thought, no, actually, you've got a point. I'm going, see ya. I'm going for a cheese sandwich and a bath. Yeah, wouldn't want to be here. Because, I mean, Fash was absolutely, no, I'm not giving up. Oh, I'm not giving up. Because he is a different kettle of fish. And he, I think, it cannot be seen to be anything other than I've given 100%. And I think Anthea is more comfortable in their own skin.
Yes, I agreed. So absolutely 100% what you've said. I went through that emotional, I went through the, what have you done? Like, no, you can do this, girl, because she can do that.
Could have.
But I reckon that in that moment, she went, I don't need to do this. I don't need, I know who I am. I accept who I am.
Yeah.
And I don't think it was a failure on her part at all.
No, I think it was a win-win, really.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, Ant, I've done enough.
Yeah.
Wouldn't want to be, yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly. And in context, she was only 15 minutes behind the rest of the crew. And
I think she did a brilliant job, absolutely brilliant. And what she wasn't party to was the fact that all the boys, when she did her out of the helicopter backwards thing into the freezing water, don't underestimate how fucking difficult that is.
Yeah.
The getting into the water and not taking a breath in because you know it's absolutely stunningly freezing.
Yeah. So
she did that, and I think it was Billy that looked at Ollie or somebody and said, "Oh, it's fucking perfect." So she, out of everybody, had done the perfect backwards dive, and I don't think she would have been privy to that content at all. So looking back, when she looks at this, she might have been thinking, shit, I could have done that.
Yeah.
But she might have been thinking, I could have done it, but I'm glad I left when I did. And I hope that's how she feels.
I do. I also hope that that's how she feels. So we had a few people leave. We had Jack leave as well.
Yeah. That made me laugh when Billy was like, I'm a bit of a dinosaur. What the fuck do you do for a living? What's that? What does an influencer do? I thought, what a nice kid. And I don't think he truly knew what he was getting himself into, but I imagine he was thinking, well, any publicity is good publicity, and I know what bad publicity is like. I can deal with this because evidently he's had some rather bad publicity before now. And I thought he was a nice kid, and I liked he had a very open way to him, his face, and the way he was. Not the strongest guy, and actually quite a lot of self-doubt, I think, in some areas, which is understandable because I think he was a bit like a fish out of water, and he had problems, didn't he, when with the backwards dive out of the helicopter and he hit the water, took a while to surface. That would have frightened the shit out of the poor boy.
That would have hurt like hell. He smacked him so hard, and if anyone's ever done a belly flop into a swimming pool, and you can imagine doing a backwards belly flop into freezing cold water from that height, oh my God, that would have hurt.
It would have hurt him. So I know that the boat was on hand to pick him up, but again, in the edit, it looked like he was down there for an interminable amount of time, and I thought, where's he on? And it's frightening, and it's pretty nasty, and unless you are, I think, got quite a lot of faith in yourself, and are able to come up and think, oh, great, I'm breathing again now, right, I better just swim to the edge. Your rational thought has flown away long ago, and you are faced with all of your fears at once. And I think that the poor kid was just thinking, didn't know what to think. He I think was just pleased to survive that. I think that you know, he doesn't have a great deal of life experience because he's only 24 for starters. And I mean, had he had a little bit of military experience, he would have been different again, but he's not the outdoorsy type, I don't think. He's a thinker, and with a few demons knocking about, and I think that actually that was enough to send him to the place where he was thinking, I'm not sure whether I want to do this.
The reality of running down a hill with lots of rocks where it's really slippy, where everyone's falling over, you know, again, if you've ever walked up a large hill or a mountain, and coming down is the toughest bit, isn't it? It's where your legs go to jelly, and then he's physically experiencing that, maybe even for the first time. So this is kind of a steep learning curve for him, isn't it?
It is. And what we also have to remember is all of these guys, they haven't applied to do the show, they've been asked to do it.
Yeah.
And you have to respect the fact that they've been asked to do this and they've gone, okay. Yeah. And it's a big ask. They've not thought about it for a year, done loads and loads of training, and what have you, and been selected at a CrossFit box or what have you, they've been asked to do this.
So that's quite a consideration as we're watching it, to know that they've probably done no prep, certainly not to that extreme anyway.
No.
And they've not had much notice to do any preparation. So mentally they won't be fully prepared, because how can you be prepared for something you've never experienced before? So
that is a good question. And this is going back to this thing, you know, I was talking about having the discipline to just do what you feel you need to do. And I suppose it's making a decision that you're going to have a baseline fitness, whatever that baseline is for you, and doing whatever you need to do, whatever it takes to achieve that, so that at a moment's notice you will be at least semi-prepared, which is better than being completely unprepared for doing X, Y, or Z. And that's kind of where I like to keep myself as well. I like to think, I always say, never plan 100%. 50% plan and cuff it is all you need. But you've got to have that baseline of, so what am I prepared for? What could I do? How can I turn on my sixpence now and go and do something that's required of me at a moment's notice? How can I train myself? What do I need to expose myself to? How do I need to step out of my comfort zone and into my adventure zone? And how often am I prepared to do that? And to what extent? And it's drilling yourself in things, drilling yourself in not staying comfortable, or at least not all of the time. I think that's how you prepare. You don't prepare 100% because it's probably not viable. But you can prepare 50%, and the rest of it is attitude, I think.
Right.
And faith.
And faith.
Yeah, faith in yourself, faith in whatever.
Yeah.
Certain amount of fuck it, how hard can it be?
Yeah. There's all sorts of ways in which you can contextualize and therefore accept what's happening to you. One of the things that I think must be really difficult is to be criticized.
Oh, it's horrible.
Yeah, that's really horrible, isn't it? So, you know, as they're running along, to be shouted at, to be, how much is that psychological effect?
You can laugh at it and use it as a driver. You'll succeed.
Yeah.
Come on, Anthea, I'm walking backwards and I'm going fucking faster than you. It was funny.
I think he said that to Fash, didn't he? Did he
say it to Fash? Oh.
He did. And I thought, oh my God, because someone who's holding himself together like Fash is, although I think he's doing a brilliant job of holding himself together, there's a lot of holding together going on there. And
I tell you what though, when he breaks, he'll be as brittle as peanut brittle. Do you know what I mean? When you break him, he'll go.
And what do you
predict? I wasn't there, but this is my
prediction.
When you break Fash, he'll be brittle as hell, but then within a short space of time he'll have smoothed it and you'll get this facade again.
Wow. I mean, he's had a tough life, hasn't he?
Yeah, it's got a lot. There's a lot in there, but it's held together tighter than a drum. Because
that's how he's learned to hold it together, isn't it, Liz?
Yeah.
And I think, what do you think the team's response to him was? Because at first, when I was watching them, I was thinking he's really rocked them. They didn't know that he was dealing with all of this, and that's how his life had been. That's what I was first thinking. And then afterwards, I wasn't sure whether they just thought, "Oh my God, there's a lot of trouble in there." So I had.
Steve said to me when we were watching this together, my husband, he said, Foxy's just given one of his killer one-liners, which was something along the lines of, "It's not very often I come across somebody and I think, what the fuck is going on in their head?"
Yes, that's right.
And so it's to Jason Fox, Fash is a bit of a, at that stage in the proceedings, Fash was still a bit of a mystery, as in, what are you actually, how are you feeling, what are you thinking, what are you processing? Because he's rather inscrutable.
If you watch that series again, I would recommend, if everyone's watched it, watch it again for that point at which he's explaining his childhood and his life experiences, and look at that face, because there are moments when I think he's going to break, and then there are moments when he's absolutely 100% composed, but not tightly holding it together. If you look at the muscles of his face, I might be reading it wrong, but there's almost like a beautiful baby softness about his face.
There's a sadness. There's quite an intrinsic sadness.
Totally, yeah. But what is the face giving away?
He has learned with his eyes. He blazes away at people, and I think he's very stature, because I mean he's huge, isn't he? He's a fucking intimidating person. But he has also, I think, learned that his size and his demeanour will intimidate, so he's learned to soften so he can actually talk to the rest of the human race. So he's learned to soften the edges somewhat, but you've got somebody there that around the little boy that was adopted and put into a setting which was eminently alien, and he was the alien, if you like. So that little boy has had to very quickly sort of like coat himself in steel, and then learn subsequently in later life to coat that in something a bit more cuddly and approachable, because otherwise people won't come near him. He's multi-layered. You've got hard on the outside, quite a soft bit then, and then you've got a bit of a ring of steel around this vulnerability that he's got in the middle of him. And he's an interesting character, definitely. But yeah, I think one of his mechanisms is that he blazes, he's intense with his eye contact.
And that belies for me I must watch it again, but it belies for me the kind of muscle tone of his face as well, because so that's an absolute skill that he's perfected, hasn't he, to be able to hold himself.
Yeah.
When he was talking about his brother and the fact, you know, they asked him outright, did he feel guilty? And so you can see there are little, like, tiny little ripples under there. That's
internal dialogue. Yeah, it's internal. You can see, you know, that thing with go down. Yeah, internal dialogue.
Yeah.
Now then, there's a thing now, I didn't look at it particularly with this in mind, so I might relook at it. Is he saying yes because he's expecting people to say, because people are expecting him to say yes, or is he saying yes because he does feel guilty?
Yeah.
And actually, maybe he's processed it to a degree where he has processed the guilt out of the way, because the guilt is not a useful emotion to him. But because he realizes that people might expect him to feel guilty about that, he's saying, yeah. So yeah, who knows? Or maybe there was guilt and there is no guilt now, but it's too much to explain in that forum.
There is that brevity of words, isn't there, when the enormity of his life, and particularly in terms of his brother, and I know we're only seeing the edited parts of it, but there is too much to explain, isn't there?
Yeah.
How do you even begin to explain that? But when they stopped the interview at the point where they were talking about his guilt, did they stop the interview at that point? Would they? Would you in interrogation stop at that unresourceful state? Or would you on SAS Who Dares Wins, would you stop at that unresourceful state?
That's a really good question. Depends what the watch commander wants. He might be at the state, the watch commander might be at the state where he's thinking, yes, we do need to break this person down a little bit, because otherwise we're not going to get any more out of him. So he doesn't actually use the word unresourceful because he's not a coach. But that's what is implied. Sometimes you are required to leave them in an unresourceful state, or what would apparently be unresourceful. But if they are strong enough, you can put the hood on with that question ringing in their ears, and they'll go away and sort it. And if they're not strong enough, they'll go away, and within 20 minutes, hand will go up, umpire, and the armband will go.
Because that's the point at which they've made that decision. It's resonated with them. They've stayed with it, and they've decided it's not worth it.
But then the psychiatrist team will make sure that those are closed up subsequently, and then look
good. That's always reassuring. So that's.
We don't just go in and fuck them up, and go home.
Thank God, brilliant stuff. That note about how you handle situations is very important, because the doctor, when Katie Price she did a voluntary withdrawal, she handed over her armband, and she went in to see the doctor. And what I noticed about the doctor was that he did not engage with what she was wanting to talk about. He kept it neutral, factual. Did you notice that point at which he said something like, well, it's done now, you're out of here, or something of the words to that effect, like, I'm not engaging with the story that you're continually living with. So you've done a voluntary withdrawal. There has to be a point at which you accept that.
Sundeep is absolutely brilliant. He's the most deadpan. He's so deadpan, but actually he's very kind. But he won't entertain any of your nonsense. And he's not there to pick you up and cuddle you and all the rest of it. Even if you look back to series 3 in Morocco, when Amos went in and he was talking about his cancer, and the poor old Muz was having a bit of a cry at that stage, and I remember Sundeep saying to him, well, yeah, you have had cancer. It was so sort of like matter of fact and deadpan. And it contrasted with the pure emotion that at that time Muz was feeling, sort of relief and what have you. And it's the same with Katie Price. He's like, in his head, I think Sundeep must be thinking, I'm a medical doctor, I'm not doing the psych bit, and it's not going to help me or them if I go there with them at the moment. So I'll just give them what I need to give them and make sure that medically they're okay. But Sundeep will not get mission creep and not do. He won't go over to role of psychologist or what have you. He will purely make sure that medically that person is okay. And he'll listen to what they have to say, but no, he won't engage and go any further. And I like him for that, actually, because he's a safe pair of hands. He's not doing anybody else's job. He's just doing his own, and he's doing it really well.
Yeah. Is he a coach?
No. He's a medical doctor.
Wow. Well, he's a very good coach. I would.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. He's as funny as hell. Well, when you get him on the quiet, he's very funny. But at first, I couldn't work him out. First sort of 2 series, I'm thinking, this guy's the grumpiest man I've ever met.
So we're going to talk about Tony, the boxer, next. And Tony the boxer is quite an interesting character, isn't he? Because in episode 1 and episode 2, the staff are very intrigued by him, aren't they? What do you think their view of him is, Liz? And what's your view of him?
I think that they see potential, but wonder how the heck he's going to resist the urge to be aggressive. And I would imagine that they will poke him to the point of him almost blowing his top. That will be the one thing that they're testing. There is no doubt that he's, fit. There is no doubt that he's strong, and there's no doubt that he's a capable human being. What is in doubt is, are you a loose cannon? Will you kill somebody just because they piss you off? which is not the same as would you kill somebody upon order or because you had to protect X, Y, or Z. Just being pissed off and deciding that you're going to terminate or snuff something out, it isn't going to make a good soldier. It's going to make a liability. It's going to make a ticking time bomb. And that's what they are. They're going to poke him to within an inch of getting decked themselves, I suspect, to see what it'll take to make him go. And if he doesn't explode, they will, they will be looking at how he can then channel that energy and make it work for him. It's a long shot. It probably won't work, I don't think, because the guy has shown that he's a bit of a ticker, ticking time bomb. But let's see what happens. If he can control it, brilliant. But we're seeing them prodding away at him because he's shown this weakness, and that's his one weakness, really.
Is the overdone strength of
overdone strength? The aggression. Yeah, you need a level of aggression to do what he's done, and he's been brilliant at doing it. And you need to channel that aggression, but also you can't let that aggression leak anywhere, because you're a soldier 24/7, 365 days of the year, so you can't leak that.
And in your experience, are there people like Tony who go into the military who are then that aggression is then focused and they learn to manage that aggression? So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, look at Ant. Ant said, he's got an aggressive streak to him, and that got him into deep shit, actually, when he left the military and he didn't have a channel for his aggression at all.
And what happened to Ant? What is that story?
He will freely admit that when he left the military, I think he got drunk one night and he was sticking up for somebody in a fight, and saw red mist came down, and he pummeled them and got done for ABH and put in prison for 14 months. So he knows more than anybody else, really, that there is a filter required, or a line that you must not cross, and you mustn't allow yourself to cross that. So you have to be able to control that energy, or stop that instinct. I think it's stopping the instinct in its tracks rather than anything else in the first instance, isn't it?
Yeah.
I can feel that red mist. How do I blow that off? Quick. Because I do not need to be going down that path and causing somebody actual bodily harm.
Yeah. So you reckon Ant absolutely knows what he's going through? And
he does. That's why Ant is the one to needle him. Billy's another one, because Billy's a fighter. He was a boxer from being a kid, and he'll know.
And I think what's brilliant about the SAS Who Dares Wins program is that although we're not, well, I don't think I'm ever going to be in that kind of situation, but we are dealt daily frustrations, aren't we? And one of the things that we have to do right now during lockdown is to actually suppress all those instincts that we have for doing the things that we would normally do in life, which might be going and meeting family. It might be going to the supermarket whenever we feel like it, going for coffee shops, going for walks, going on holiday. All of those things that are a natural part of our rhythm are being stopped right now. And so there is the same parallel, isn't there, between what Ant is doing with Tony the boxer and what we need to do to get through lockdown and come out of it the other side.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, so it is recognising, isn't it, the urges that we have, recognising our normal response to them, doing as Ollie Ollerton would say, your due diligence with the process that needs to be in place. Take your emotions out of it and do the process. and try and use any emotional drive that you have, negative or positive energies, all energy. So just rewire yourself so that you can channel it into something that makes sense for the time being. And yeah, that's kind of it, isn't it? Repurpose your energy.
Yeah, repurpose your energy sounds like well.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
I write that down. Repurpose your energy. I am literally writing it down. Like that. I might even write a blog on that.
So what everybody doesn't know that's listening to this is that this is what Liz is absolutely brilliant at doing, amongst many other things. It's coming up with these one-liners, with these little catchphrases that are just absolutely gold dust. So we're gonna be seeing you repurposing everybody's energy, Liz, from now on, right?
Yes. Just got to work out how, but yeah.
Brilliant. Oh, well, we're all working out how, aren't we? Constantly, don't you think?
Yeah, that's the fun of it, isn't it? It changes all the time. It's a slippery thing, life.
Was it Ollie who was talking about painting the red door or something?
Oh, it was a conversation between Ollie Ollerton and Chris Evans this morning on Virgin Breakfast Show. And they were talking about you don't just to change yourself for the better, to modify your behaviour isn't a one-stop paint the room red and that's done. It's a series of behavioural changes or practices that happen on a regular basis. Tweaks happen on a regular basis rather than a paint it once and there you go, it's done. And it's repurposing your energy. It's taking your emotion out of stuff and putting a drill in place that you know makes sense for you at the moment, and doing that drill until your energy not your energy, but your emotions join in, and you can make sense of it. But the drill is the thing that drives through you to change.
Yeah.
And you don't have to like it, you just got to do it.
Yeah.
But if you already know that the drill will lead to an outcome that you like or that you desire, you might not feel like getting your trainers on and moving your fat bum down the lane, but you've thought it through, and you know that drill will lead to the outcome that you desire, as in my bum won't wobble as much, and I'll be fitter, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
That's just me talking. I want to get rid of my muffin top. And I'm not going to do that by sitting here, am I? I know, what's the word? Intellectually. I know intellectually that what I need to do is move more and eat less cake. So my emotions might not like it because they might be going, cake.
Yeah.
But my intellectual self knows, no, if you move and do and get into the habit of doing, and then that's just going to happen every day, then you can have the cake.
Yeah.
Win-win. You don't like the thought of putting your trainers on. It is rainy. I don't really want to go, but the drill will see you through that change, and then your behaviour, should you keep doing the drill every day, your behaviour at the end of the month will be modified to such an extent, but your emotions will have caught up with it because it'll be part of your routine.
Yeah.
That's a very long-winded way of trying to explain what Ollie was talking about this morning. He did it more succinctly than I did, but you don't change things once, you modify, and then you do the drill.
Absolutely. And I love that process, and I always think about the simple things in life. For example, when you get out of bed in the morning, I always use this as an example of what we can do in our lives, because as children we have to be encouraged to brush our teeth, don't we?
Yeah.
In most cases, as adults, the first thing we want to do is, when we get out of bed, is brush our teeth. That's generally one of the first things we want to do, or something of that nature. You go out for a run, you then want to shower to feel fresh. And those are drills. Those are built up from
learned behaviours.
They are, and we can learn behaviours of any kind, can't we? If we give ourselves enough of those drills.
Yes. I think the other thing to say at this juncture is, don't try and do it all at once. don't try and do it all at once, because you might wake up in a month's time and not know who the bloody hell you are. Quite seriously, sometimes if you're forced into too much change at once, that can be quite disorientating.
And that's what we've all been forced into right now, isn't it? Lockdown, and people are finding themselves within it. So I think that I speak to a lot of people who are saying, oh, I'm not doing this and I'm not doing that. When we ask what they are doing, it'll be the stuff that's important to them. So they might feel guilty because they're not going out for a run or using the time to, I don't know, read more. Or someone that I know put a post on Facebook recently, and it was about, I'm not learning a new skill. But it's like, for those people that's important to, they will do it, authentically know who you are and do what serves you right during this lockdown.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not aware that I've learnt a new skill, but what I have done is I've given myself a lot more space to let things come up, and I've allowed. Maybe allowing is a new skill. I've allowed things to just to surface, and I've allowed myself to sit with them, and that, I think, is really, really useful for me, because when you're busy, the one thing that you don't allow is for any of that stuff to come anywhere near you, because you haven't got time to deal with it, time or energy or patience. And I have now, and so I'm letting it come to the surface. If something disturbs my sleep, I'll let it, and then I'll think, okay, and I'll go and get a cup of tea, and I'll sit with it, and I might write a bit about it or something, but I'll just let it hang about. And I could have read thousands of books, but I haven't. I've dipped into a couple.
So Liz, thank you so much for your wonderful wisdom, not only as a human being, but as an amazing member of the SAS Who Dares Wins team, and one of our Simply Changing coaches. We're really, really proud of what you do because of who you are, Mrs., because of who you are. Brilliant.
Thank you very, very much. It's my pleasure. Thanks for asking me.
You're welcome. So we're going to get together again next Tuesday, and that will be based on episode 3, which is on the Monday night on Channel 4.
Yeah, 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock.
Yeah.
Brilliant. See you soon. See you next week. Take care.